Welcome to Hoop Talks. I'm your girl, Noor Zainab. Next to my guy, Jelani Goodridge Reed. Justin Pooney will not be here until Friday, so lucky for you. Rapper fans, he'll land from Vancouver tonight, but he won't make an appearance until then. But today, we've got the one and only Crina Mustafa joining us from New York City,
Yes.
the land of concrete jungle.
Yeah, the concrete jungle, the Big
Maybe
Apple.
not the land of concrete jungle, just
Yeah,
the concrete.
not the
Yeah,
land of, but
maybe just the
you
concrete
got it. You
jungle.
got it.
Thanks,
Shout out to
Jelani.
Cree.
It's okay, guys. It's the Wednesdays, the hump day. I'm trying.
I was like very afraid of like where that was going.
I know, right?
I was trying to find it. I have filler words. This is what I realized. I have filler words for myself.
Yes.
So that's what the land there was. But forget all that. It's not about me. It's about you because you were there to attend the New York Liberty games this past weekend on Sunday. And before we get to that, because I got so many questions for you, just getting your, in-person experience. How is the weather and how is the air quality around you? Does it smell like a bonfire there as well?
Yes, it also smells like a bonfire here. Yesterday it was like super hazy. The sky was like kind of like an orangey color, which is a bit weird. And to be honest, I didn't even realize it until I saw people tweeting about it. So like that just tells you my self-awareness.
So Karina, let's get to the court. So obviously the Liberty, they just met the Sky in like essentially a split, the two games. The first matchup, they had a great start. Okay. They finished off the game with a W, of course. Then the second one, I don't know what happened there. Okay. The 19-point lead. What do you make of them blowing that 19-point lead against Chicago?
Yeah, I mean, after the game, Coach Sandy said that they became complacent in the second half and they kind of went away from what they were. There was a lot of emphasis on playing 40 full minutes versus 20 minutes of the game. That's been something that the Liberty have talked about this entire week, this entire season. It's always been we have to play 40 minutes versus only playing half of the game. Sometimes when a team goes out to like a 19-point lead, they think that they can take their foot off the gas pedal a little. And I think that's what we saw. Coming out of halftime, they just looked so out of rhythm and they let Chicago come in and disrupt that.
What was interesting to me was Kahleah Copper's performance. She had a game high 27 points. She 7 rebounds, 3 dimes on 59% from the field and 62% from 3. So talk to me about her effort on the court and what that meant for the Liberty, who were kind of lacking that star power there that night.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about this all season. Ka is the leader of the Chicago Sky now. She scores points in crucial moments, which fires her up even more. Like you just mentioned, she had 27 points. She was 5 of 8 from 3, and 2 of those threes came from the top of the key, which was just so impressive. And we talk about how versatile of a scorer that she is, and we saw that. She was able to get to the free throw line as well a couple of times. She also had 7 rebounds, and her and Courtney Williams led the team in rebounds. Courtney Williams had 9, which is kind of wild when you think about, Courtney Williams is actually one of the smallest players on the Chicago Sky. So the fact that they were able to lead in rebounds, that just says a lot about their movement on the court and the chemistry that they've been building this year.
I'm actually just so glad you got to see Courtney Williams again. I feel like you've been either stalking her or she's stalking you. Wherever you go, she shows up. Wherever she goes,
I'm
you show
salty
up.
because I didn't get to talk to her, but yeah, no, it was.
But
cool.
If you guys want to check out, also Crina did cover her latest shoe drop with Moolah Kicks. We'll have the links for you underneath here. But I wanted to ask you also, Cree, this was a home and home series, right? You had one game in Chicago and the other in New York. And I know you spoke to Sandy Brunello and you asked her about playing twice in a row and what that means for the coaches to game plan. And she said that it's like a chess match, which sounds very intriguing. So I want you to kind of elaborate on what you got from her answer there.
Yeah, I mean, a chess match is all about making adjustments from what your opponent throws at you. And that's kind of what Sandy was talking about. She was saying how you can take little subtle things like what your opponent's defense is doing against you in the first game and use that against them. You can use it to exploit them. You can work around it in the next game that you play. I also thought it was super interesting to get the perspective on the same question, but from the players as well, because the players have a different mentality than the coaches do when it comes to those adjustments, because Betnijah Laney said that she just prepares for this game as any other game. She did say that making adjustments is a little bit easier because it is against the same team, but ultimately to her, it's just another game in the season. Whereas like Coach Sandy was saying how she does use this as an opportunity to work on making adjustments. She's talked a lot about the familiarity of playing the same team twice in a row. And so I thought it was interesting to hear how the perspectives were a little bit different on that end.
And Karina, obviously, you are fully tied in with the Liberty. You know all things Liberty. So I want to know from you, looking aside from those superstar names, who's the most important player on this team for their success this season?
It's so funny because Coach Sandy, she said to us in media, she's like, "You guys call us a super team, but we're not so super." So she was pretty hard on herself on that. But I think it's so hard because there's so many like star players on this team.
I know, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I think they all have to work together to be important, because if you're really going to look at the star player, it is Stewie, I think, who is the most important player on this team. So if you look outside of that, I think having the role players as well come in, like Kahleah Thornton, I thought was a really good acquisition for the team. She's a vet in the league. The way she plays defense is so important. And I think the Liberty are going to need to use that moving forward, because she's so active with her hands on the ball, which is very, very difficult to play against. And when they're able to play defense as a cohesive unit, then they're able to force turnovers. They're able to play more in transition. So I think she's one of the more important players as well. It's really hard when you have a team that is so star heavy, but then
right.
you also need, the other players to kind of supplement what your roster is doing.
Right. And New York obviously plays Minnesota tonight. So I want to know your early expectation for tonight's game. And looking at the spread, it's massive. 14.5 right now. So where are you on that?
Listen, heading into this game, you might originally think that, hey, this is a chance for the Liberty to easily beat a bottom team. However, that spread is way too big. This Lynx team is coming off of their first win of the season, and that win came against the Washington Mystics. It was a very close game. They won it by 2 points. Kayla McBride had a season-high 24 points, and Tiffany Mitchell's performance also helped them in crunch time to seal that win. So I'd be a little bit hesitant before betting on the Liberty spread here. I went to Liberty practice yesterday, and I came away with a couple of things before this game tonight. On the Liberty side, the key is going to be getting the ball to Stewie. That's something that they really emphasized. They felt like they weren't putting her in positions to succeed in the game against Chicago. I mean, even Courtney Vandersloot kind of took a little bit of that responsibility, where she said that it's on her to create plays that is setting up her teammates for success. And so something that Coach Sandy was also reiterating is like, we need to get the ball to Stewie. We need to help her get to work, and help us win. And on the Lynx side, she was also emphasizing in practice yesterday that not only is Tiffany Mitchell a point guard, but she's a scoring point guard. And that kind of changes the way that you defend her, because not only are you trying to stifle her passes, but now you're hoping that she doesn't blow by you to get her own buckets. And so I think that if the Liberty just play the way that they did in that first half against the Chicago game, which was full of ball movement and balanced scoring across the board, then they should be able to get a solid win against the Lynx tonight. But just pump the brakes a little bit on that big spread.
Well, based off all your answers today, Crina, we know you are a New York Liberty queen. You got everything down on pat, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to bring up the Las Vegas Aces. I am so sorry. They did win
all
last
comes back
night.
to the Aces.
Dude, when you're going 7-0, when you're undefeated 2 weeks into the WNBA season, I'm going to have to ask you about what's happening over there. And again, like I said, they beat the Connecticut Sun last night. This is one of the best teams in the league as well. So it kind of gets me to question, is there any team out there that can give the Aces a run for their money? I see Jelani shaking his head, but do you got somebody for us?
I don't think so. I'm sorry.
Listen, Yusu, listen. As much as these Aces are 7-0 right now, and nobody has beaten them yet, however, a lot of these teams have pushed them. We saw close games from the Sparks. Even the Sun yesterday were able to make it pretty close. They had a very close game against the Dream earlier this week. I think at this point, any team can give them a run for their money. I think it's just a matter of which team is going to be able to finish strong in the fourth quarter, because that's what's been happening, where these teams are pushing the Aces, but then the Aces are just able to close out the game and execute down the stretch in ways that are very hard to play against. So even last night against the Connecticut Sun, they made it a game in the fourth quarter thanks to Beck Allen going off. Shout out Beck Allen. Shout out Liberty. That's a former team. But then they just ran into Kelsey Plum making a crucial 3 down the stretch and just not being able to tie the game and take it over. And so I think the Aces have to play the Sun again on Thursday. And so I think the Sun could actually learn from this first matchup against the Aces, and they might be able to take this one. Again, we kind of go back to that theme of that mini series of playing the same team twice in a row, just like the Liberty just did against the Sky. The Aces and the Sun are about to do the exact same thing. So we'll see if the Sun are able to make adjustments. I think they are very well equipped to beat the Aces. It's just going to be a matter of let's not let Chelsea Gray get a clutch bucket at the end. Let's not let Kelsey Plum do that.
Right.
Let's not let Jackie Young blow passes. Let's not let Asia Wilson get what she wants in the paint. So like it's very, very hard, but they've been able to close out the game so far. So the first team that is able to stifle that will beat the Aces.
Yeah, to me, these home and home games almost seem like they're supposed to be between the coaches. Like it's just to see how can the coaches adjust to each other's game plan, and the players just have to kind of come out and play the best that they can every single night. But Crina, thank you so much for joining us today. We will see you back in the flesh in person in Toronto, hopefully with better weather, with better
Yeah.
lungs, with better atmosphere. But we can't wait. So thank you for joining us,
Thanks,
and we'll
Kari.
cover everything WNBA on the weekend, Friday before everything goes down. Take care, guys.